Okay, so the next item we're going to be talking about today is benefit cost analysis. Any of you have any experience with doing that, or what the term means?
I've heard of it, but I don't really understand.
Okay, I mean, conceptually it's very simple. Look at all the good things about your DSM program, look at all of the costs or the down things about it, subtract one from the other and see what the net benefits are. That's in theory. In practice, it gets a little bit more difficult. And there are three kinds of complications that you often run into. So the first is that there may be a whole bunch of benefits that it's just too complicated to figure out what they are. So imagine you have a program where you give away a light bulb. Well, do you include the cost of the person driving to the store? If you include that, do you include the cost of manufacturing the car that's driven to the store? So you can sort of go back and back and back and back and back, and it's kind of a never-ending process, calculating the benefits and the costs at all those levels. A second problem is, so the first one is about where do you draw the boundaries? What things do you include and what things do you not include? The second issue often is about distribution. So you might say, well, if we gave away these light bulbs and gave everyone $100 to take a light bulb, people would do it and so on. And from an economic sense, there's not really more money or less money in the economy because the $100 is still there, but it's going from the utility to the customer, and so there's a distributional issue that the utility is incurring the cost, the customer is getting the benefit. And then the third issue that often relates to benefit cost analyses is that it's hard to quantify some of the benefits and some of the costs. So if as a result of your DSM program you reduce environmental emissions, what are the value of those emissions that you reduce? Or if you improve your corporate image, how do you measure that in economic terms? How do you measure the value of an improvement in corporate image in economic terms? So all of these things are common challenges in any benefit cost analysis. And in DSM practice, what has been done is there's been a development of a number of tests, benefit cost or cost effectiveness tests, to simplify or answer those questions. Say, what are the boundaries of what we're going to look at? What are the distributional issues we're going to consider? And how do we deal with things that are difficult to quantify? As you look at this slide, you'll see a whole range of benefits and costs. These are just some example ones, and there can be many, many more, but you can see some of them are like the ones I was talking about. There's improved image up there for the program administrator. And that one might be one of the ones that's difficult to quantify. Similarly, you might have incentives over here, which are a cost to the utility, but they're a benefit to the participant who gets the money to implement the initiatives.
I get it.
So the next thing that we're going to do as part of our DSM programming course is to do a SWOT analysis. So a SWOT analysis looks at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats associated with an entity or initiative. So what we're going to look at today is to do a SWOT analysis of your utility's ability to design, develop, and run residential DSM program. What I want you to do is, if you take a look, we've provided a worksheet. So if you could split up into pairs, so we've got 7 people here, so maybe 2 groups of 2 or 1 group of 3, and you can work together to on the analysis for about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back together as a group to discuss your answers and to come up with some conclusions as a group. Does anyone have any questions before we start? Is everyone clear? Okay, has everyone had enough time to complete the SWOT analysis?
Just about.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's start with the strengths. So what do you see as the strengths of your utility in delivering DSM programs to your residential customers? Who would like to start? Amy.
Okay, my utility just delivered a customer survey to all of our residential customers. So now we have a really good
weaknesses that you've come across in delivering residential DSM?
So, at the same time, we have a good relationship with the customers. They also view us in a negative light in a lot of ways. They think, oh, we're responsible for the power outages they have, we're responsible for the high bills they pay, so we have to get over that barrier.
Okay, so negative customer attitudes. And so you were saying with regards to power outages and that sort of thing, do you find that it's negative with regards to DSM, or they can't get over sort of the lights being on in order to get to the DSM part of it?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's a barrier to
Okay.
accepting what we're saying for them.
Okay. Okay, now what about opportunities? So we talked a little bit about the strengths and weaknesses that your utility face. What about opportunities? What opportunities are there out there for you to deliver DSM programs to your residential customers? Amy?
My utility's just got on board with social media, and we have a lot of support internally, and we're really excited to use this as a new way to communicate about our programs with customers and improve some of the existing programs that we have.
Okay, so we could say new technologies and new social networking tools. What threats are there to delivering residential DSM in your service territory? Josh?
Well, some people have big budgets, but generally there is a push to keep prices low and not spend money. Like DSM is seen as kind of a frill or something like that. It's like the first thing to cut in some ways.
Okay. To keep rates low, and I guess you're saying DSM's not seen as essential
Yeah,
service.
you got to get the lines up. You got to keep the power running. But DSM is seen as extra.
So just in wrapping up, I think this SWOT analysis is an important tool just so that you get a sense of, as we talked about earlier, to get a sense of what other folks are doing, what the opportunities they've found in their service territory, but also to see sort of where your weaknesses lie, what the threats are to you doing DSM, delivering residential DSM in your service communities, so that you can deliver programs that better meet the needs of your customer.